Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I wanted to go through all of the gameplay modes inside Illuvium and talk to you basically about what we do know so far inside the game and the different modes that we will have. So let's get into it. And firstly, before we do go into any of these modes, keep in mind that this is all subject to change. The game isn't actually out yet, but it's a pretty concise list of what we're looking at. We've got 6 different gameplay modes for the open beta version, and then obviously we will probably have more stuff come in the future. But without any more, let's get into the first one, which is going to be the land gameplay. Now, we are meant to have a land sale estimated for January, so this month we should have the land sale, which is going to allow you to buy plots of land inside Illuvium, which is going to be, when you look at the gameplay of the land mode, it's going to be like a city builder where you build up different sort of resource mining machines and stuff like that and sort of farm your resources. That's the basic gist of it. I will go through it more when it does launch. Now for this one, even though you can buy land to play it, if you do purchase land, it will give you earning capacity inside the game when it does launch. However, if you don't want to purchase land but the gameplay does look fun to you, you will be able to still play a tier 0 version of land, which is going to have equivalent gameplay to tier 4, except you won't have any earning capacity. So at least you will be able to experience it if it is the type of game mode you enjoy. Now, me personally, land isn't my favorite gameplay mode, but it's something that I will definitely try and pick up at least one piece of land so that we can play it in the anticipation for the actual launch of Illuvium. Next up, we have the open world gameplay mode. Now, I don't know if you could call this a mode. It's sort of a transition piece between modes, but I feel like we can call it its own because there's that much work and development that's gone into it. I think it's actually going to be an incredibly exciting part of the game. We have seen video from the dev team of like these little courses that they do to test out things like the mag boots and the jetpack, and I think as a community we're going to end up having hopefully some pretty fun competitions, you know, about trying to traverse the different landscapes using those mag boots and jetpacks to get around, to have some time trials and stuff like that. Now, that won't be a core feature of the game, but I think it could be something really fun that we can do. But overall, I think the open world gameplay is going to be really immersive to the game. Obviously, it's an auto battler at its core, but this open world gameplay is going to add that just extra level to it. It looks really exciting to bounce around on those mag boots, fly around with the jetpack, get your dart gun out to try and open up portals to go into combat. It's sort of got everything, and I really like what they're doing with such heavy development in this open world feature for the idea of what they could actually expand into with other games in the future. But the open world, just more of a smaller transitional piece in the game, but I think it's going to be incredibly fun. Then we move on to the core part of the game, which is the auto battler. Now, there's going to be 4 modes in the auto battler that we know of so far, 2 of them being PvE related, player versus environment, and 2 of them being PvP related or player versus player, so competitive modes. So for PvE, we have the first one, which I call capture mode. You can call it whatever you want, but it's where you go around in that open world exploration mode, and then once you get into combat through that, where you're going to go ahead and capture alluvials. Now, this mode of combat is going to be fairly basic. It's going to be, you see the whole enemy team, you put your team in that you think will go good against them, and then you battle. If you defeat them, you have a chance to capture those alluvials, and when you get through that battle, you can actually capture multiple alluvials, but at some stage they will regain consciousness and run away. So there's going to be a lot of strategy behind which ones you can capture, but the actual gameplay mode in the battling is fairly basic. You see their team, you make your team, you try and counter them and beat them. And the next PvE mode that we do have is going to be the one that's going to be available in the first closed beta, and that is the survival mode. Now, for this one, you're going to be in sort of a dome. Now, Aaron has spoken about different ways that they will do it. We don't know the end way it will happen. He's spoken about being in the center and then having different alluvials come in all around you. It could be in waves directly in front of you, but the basic gameplay mode of it is going to be endless waves of alluvials coming at you in combat, and you're just trying to get through as many waves as you can. It's not going to be one where you actually finish the gameplay mode. It sounds like it's going to be endless waves that keep getting harder and harder until you eventually fail, and the goal is to do as many waves as you can and climb the leaderboards in that fashion. Next up, we have the PvP formats of the auto battler. Now, there's going to be a ranked arena in which all heroes are balanced out with their stats. You can choose which fusion levels. So we've got different stages of Illuvials. You've got Ramfy, who's a stage 1, Ramfire, who's a stage 3. If you have a Ramfy, which is the stage 1, you can make it count as a Ramfire in the ranked arena, meaning you don't have to catch 9 copies of it and fully evolve it or fully fuse it. I keep calling it evolve, but it's fuse. You don't have to catch all those copies. You can just have one and you can get into it. So this is a nice competitive PvP where you are going to have to play the game a fair bit to build out your team, but you're not going to have to invest a ridiculous amount to build up that team, and it allows for some really good competitive play. We are then also going to have the Leviathan arena. Now, this is going to be one where everything counts. When you catch Illuvials, they will have some variable stat adjustments on there, things like attack, defense, HP, stuff like that, which will fluctuate depending on the Illuvial at random. I compare it to IVs in Pokemon for those who know Pokemon. And basically all those stats are going to count. Your levels are going to count. And everything, your fusion or your fusion stage is going to count. So you will need to have fused your Ramfy all the way up into a Ramfire if you want to use a Ramfire in that gameplay mode. Now, that's the main difference between these two gameplay modes. Is ranked is going to have the balanced, and it's going to be more of your competitive esports type scene, and then Leviathan is going to be a nice push for players with hopefully having some heavy incentives to really encourage players to build their units and compete at the highest levels. Now, the Leviathan arena will have the added effect that in battles you can choose, you don't have to, but you will be able to gamble or bet ETH with your opponent. At this stage, people always ask me, is there going to be a way to gamble on other people's battles? I don't think so at this stage. I think that's something that would be hard to implement based on match fixing and stuff like that, but who knows, anything is possible in this world. But those are the two formats. Now, I wanted to have a quick look at the ranked PvP flow summary and just give you guys a quick idea of how a match would pan out. Keep in mind, this is very, very early and things can change. Now, basically, you're going to choose your deck, you're going to build your deck. We still haven't got finalized numbers of how many you can have in a deck, the different types of things, but you'll build your deck, you'll find a match. Once you find a match, you will see your opponent's entire deck. After that, we go to legendary enhancement bidding. So with this one, you're going to bid using your, let's call it life points, because I played Yu-Gi-Oh! That's the way I look at it. It's going to be using an obelisk. Everything's a bit placeholder at the moment, but you're going to bid to try and get different enhancement depending on what they are. And those are going to be enhancements that won't, when I spoke to Aaron, he tried to say that they're not going to be just straight stat increases. He wants all these things to be things that are going to impact gameplay flow as opposed to just increasing stats. So it's harder to min-max. It's going to be more of something that you have to understand the board and the way the board is played, which I really like. After that bidding and someone gets the legendary enhancement, we will go to an alluvial placement round. Now, once you place your alluvials, then it will show the board and you will see your enemies' placements as well. After that, we have item placements. We will be making items in the game that you will have in your deck as cards, we'll call it, and you will be able to equip them to your alluvials. Now, you do the equipping after the placement round when you can see your opponent's team to try and be able to counter them. So it's a lot of those chess moves happening all at once. Then after that, we go into the battle round. You go through a battle. Now, like I said, I called it life points earlier. They call it an obelisk. You have a set amount of health, let's call it, and it's going to be determined. They haven't finished how you're actually going to, how much losing one battle is going to cost you, whether it's based on the HP of your alluvials at certain stages. It's still a bit up in the air, but basically, if you do one battle and you don't actually fully defeat your enemy, you will go through to an placement round again and then repeat through that process. And then basically, once you do reduce the enemy's obelisk, let's call it life points to 0, you do win the match. So that is going to be the basic gameplay flow of PvP at this stage. Keep in mind, once we go through beta testing, people will probably have lots of suggestions and that could change, but hopefully that gives you a good summary of what you can sort of anticipate to see in Illuvium, hopefully when we launch by the end of March with the open world gameplay, the land gameplay, and the auto battler with its 2 PvE modes and 2 PvP modes. Anyway, guys, that is going to be it for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you have an awesome day, and I look forward to seeing the next one. Cheers.